In the year 2256, the United Galactic Coalition's most esteemed astrobiologist, Dr. Sophia Patel, stood at the edge of the newly discovered planet, Xylophia 4. The toxic fumes emanating from the scarlet soil stung her eyes, but she refused to blink. Her gaze was fixed on the peculiar, gelatinous trees that seemed to writhe like living serpents. Dr. Patel were reading unusual energy signatures emanating from the planet's core. Her chief engineer, Jackson Vex, called out from the safety of their orbiting ship, the Celestial Quest. "I'm running diagnostics, but I've never seen anything like this before." Sophia's slender fingers danced across the data pad strapped to her wrist, scrolling through the real-time feed from the surface probes. The readings defied explanation, as if Xylophia 4 was alive, its very essence protesting their intrusion. She took a deep breath, the acrid air burning her lungs, and turned to her team. "John, can you detect any patterns in the energy fluctuations?" She addressed her chief physicist, Dr. John Lee, who was scrutinizing the data on his own pad. The soft-spoken physicist's brow furrowed. "Not yet, Sophia, but I think I see a correlation between the energy spikes and the planet's rotation. It's as if Xylophia 4 is communicating with us." Sophia's eyes narrowed. "Communicating? John, this is a planet, not a sentient being." But as she spoke, the ground began to shudder, and the gelatinous trees twisted, their tendrils seeming to reach for the sky like nature's own screaming voices. "Sophia, we're experiencing a gravitational anomaly." Jackson's voice crackled through the comms system, his words strained with urgency. "The planet's mass is shifting, like it's rearranging itself." The ground trembled beneath Sophia's feet as the landscape around her began to writhe and buckle. The air thickened, heavy with an otherworldly energy that made her skin prickle. The gelatinous trees, now wrapped around each other like living vines, seemed to be pulling the very fabric of reality apart. "Sophia, we have to get out of here now." Jackson's warning was drowned out by the cacophony of groaning rock and screaming wind. Dr. Patel's eyes locked onto John, who stood frozen, his eyes fixed on the data streaming across his pad. "John, what's happening? Is this some kind of natural phenomenon?" John's gaze snapped up, his eyes wide with a mixture of awe and terror. "It's not natural, Sophia. This is a quantum reaction. Xylophia 4 is rewriting its own reality." The ground lurched, throwing Sophia off balance. The sky above seemed to unravel, revealing a swirling vortex of colors that defied the laws of physics. A sound like the shattering of crystal filled the air, and the planet's atmosphere began to disintegrate, revealing the starry expanse beyond. "We have to get out now," Sophia screamed, grabbing John's arm and pulling him toward the waiting shuttle. As they stumbled through the churning chaos, the shuttle's engines roared to life, lifting them into the safety of the orbiting Celestial Quest. But even as they broke free of Xylophia 4's gravitational pull, Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that the planet had merely paused, waiting for its next move in a game of cosmic chess. "Sophia, we're clear of the planet's gravity," Jackson's voice announced, his tone laced with relief. "But we have a problem. The ship's navigation system is malfunctioning. We're off course, and I don't know why." Sophia's eyes narrowed as she gazed out the viewport, her mind still reeling from the events on Xylophia 4. The swirling colors of the quantum vortex still lingered in her vision, like an afterimage of a nightmare. "Jackson, can you compensate with manual navigation?" "I'm trying, Sophia, but it's like the ship is fighting me. The controls are responding erratically, like they're being influenced by an external force." John, seated beside Sophia, spoke up, his voice low and urgent. "I think I know what's happening, Sophia. Xylophia 4's quantum reaction has imprinted on the ship's systems. We're experiencing a quantum resonance, a synchronicity between the planet's altered state and our own." Sophia's eyes locked onto John's, a chill running down her spine. "You mean the ship is communicating with the planet?" John nodded grimly. "Worse, Sophia. I think the ship is becoming an extension of Xylophia 4's quantum consciousness. We're being drawn back into its gravity, back to the heart of that thing. The ship lurched, throwing them all against their restraints. Alarms blared as the gravity generators faltered, and the stars outside the viewport began to blur and distort. "We're experiencing gravitational waves, Sophia," Jackson warned, his voice strained. "We're being pulled back to Xylophia 4, and I don't think we can escape." Sophia's gaze drifted back to the viewport, the swirling colors of the quantum vortex coalescing into a single, haunting phrase. "Welcome back, Dr. Patel." The ship shuddered, its hull creaking in protest as it was drawn back toward the rogue planet. Sophia's team exchanged fearful glances, their faces illuminated only by the flickering console lights. "John, can you try to hack the navigation system?" Sophia asked, her voice steady despite the terror building inside. "I'm trying, Sophia, but it's like the ship is fighting me," John replied, his fingers flying across his console. "Whatever Xylophia 4 did to us, it's like a virus spreading through the systems." Ah! The ship lurched hard to port, throwing them all against the restraints. Alarms blared as the gravity generators faltered further, and the stars outside began to blur into a mad whirlwind. "What did you do, John?" Sophia cried, her stomach lurching into her throat. I think I managed to create a temporary firewall, but it won't last," John replied, sweat beading on his forehead. "We need to get out of here now." Jackson's voice was a desperate whisper. "Sophia, I'm plotting a jump to hyperspace. If we can make it." "No." Sophia's cry cut through the din. "We can't escape. We have to face whatever is happening here." The ship groaned, its structure creaking under the stress. Outside, the quantum vortex swirled like a living entity, pulling them back towards Xylophia 4's toxic surface. As the ship careened out of control, Sophia felt an eerie presence beside her, the planet itself, whispering secrets in her mind. She closed her eyes, her thoughts racing with the implications. "What have we unleashed, John?" she whispered, her heart heavy with foreboding. John's response was barely audible over the ship's dying screams. "I think, Sophia, I think we've become part of Xylophia 4's experiment." The ship crashed onto the planet's surface with a deafening roar, throwing the crew against their restraints. Alarms blared, and sparks erupted from shattered consoles as the vessel's systems failed. Sophia's world went dark, her body battered by the impact. When her vision cleared, she found herself lying on the cold, crimson soil of Xylophia 4. The sky above was a deep, bloody red, and the air reeked of acrid chemicals. The wreckage of the celestial quest loomed behind her, its twisted metal a grave monument to their failed escape. Sophia struggled to her feet, surveying the devastation. John and Jackson lay nearby, stunned but alive. As they regained consciousness, their eyes locked onto hers, filled with a shared sense of dread. "We have to get out of here," Jackson whispered, his voice barely audible over the howling wind. Sophia shook her head. "We can't escape. Whatever Xylophia 4 has become, it won't let us leave." John stumbled to his feet, his eyes fixed on the planet's twisted landscape. "Sophia, I think I understand what's happening. The planet's quantum reaction, it's not just a natural phenomenon. It's a message, a warning." As if in response, the ground trembled, and the sky erupted into a blaze of light. A voice, like thunder in their minds, boomed, "You have witnessed the beginning. You will bear witness to the end." The three scientists stood frozen, their minds reeling as the planet's consciousness unfolded before them. Xylophia 4, the sentient world, was awakening, and humanity was about to become an unwilling participant in its grand design.